I really think that this first generation Ford Explorer has been slept on by just about everybody, and it really is a true classic, and I'm going to tell you just why I think so. I'm going to start off with my personal favorite reason why these things are so awesome, and it's these seats. Look at this seat design. This is quintessential 90s. And then my second favorite reason is you can get this with a manual transmission, and it's not just any manual transmission. This thing was built by Mazda, because as some of you may know, they actually made this also as the Mazda Navajo, which was a two-door version of this Explorer. But underneath, it is Ford Ranger. So you really have a truck, a body-on-frame truck with a Mazda manual transmission and cool rad seats. Can't get much better than that. Now you could have these Explorers in a number of configurations. Like I mentioned, you could get the two-door Navajo. You could also get the regular Explorer in two-door. And you can get it in a multitude of color options, including this one, which, yeah, it's a little faded. I actually cleaned this part, so maybe I'll be able to save some of this red paint. But you got a cool two-tone red and gray, and there are a few other cool color options. But then not only that, look how boxy this thing is. So that 90s styling is not only on the inside, it is on the outside. And if any of you remember the first Jurassic Park movie, that vehicle that they were tootling around the park in that got broken into from that sky roof, it was a first-gen Explorer just like this one.
You got to check out this super cool car, which is up for auction this week over at TFLbusiness.com. I'm actually really excited about these because I'm a big fan of 90s GM products, and this is one of the ultimate, a 1995 Pontiac Trans Am, and this thing looks super clean. It's got a bunch of really neat features, and it's up for auction right now over at TFLbids.com.
Now, under the hood of these Ford Explorers is a pretty basic engine. This is Ford's tried and true 4-liter Cologne V6. And they put this in not only the Explorer, but they put it in the Ranger, because in fact, everything from the front doors all the way to the front of the vehicle is exactly the same as the Ford Ranger. So it really is a truck, just with some extra seats in the back. Now, with my personal ownership on this thing, I got it and it had a coolant leak. And you can kind of see I have some new hoses going on here because this thing was spraying right up to the hood. But I've since fixed that. And other than that, this thing has honestly been fantastic over my 6-month ownership, and I just love driving it. Honestly, I bought this to just kind of fix it up and move on and do some videos with it and sell it. But I have loved driving it so much that I just can't bear to see this thing go. Man, this thing just fires up every single time. I gotta love it. You know, if a lot of you don't really think much of these and kind of slept on them, I get it. I was there too. I didn't realize how cool these were until I actually owned one myself. And since owning one and doing a lot of the research in them, you know, I've begun to realize there are some really cool things about this. So it came out in 1991, and when it did, it was actually Ford's first ever 4-door SUV. And that just sounded crazy to me, right? It took until 1991 till Ford decided that we'll enter the 4-door SUV realm, because this actually replaced the Bronco 2, which was also based on the Ford Ranger. Now, some of you watching may be looking at this and thinking in your head, oh, I know that's the Ford Exploder. Well, you'd be wrong, because that was the 2nd-gen Ford Explorer, which actually came out in 1995, whereas the 1st-gen didn't really have that issue. Whether you want to blame the tires or the manufacturer on that, we'll leave that up to you guys to debate. But in these 1st-gens, they did not have that issue, and they're just known to be super basic, super reliable, good vehicles that are also capable off-road. And I mean, if you were to drive this thing year-round, chances of you getting stuck in the snow in this thing are slim to nil. Now, hopping in the back seats of these, it's about as basic as it gets. I mean, you just have your standard old bench, some grab handles, a switch to operate your windows, and, well, that's it. You don't even get headrests in this thing. So if somebody rear ends you while you're sitting back here, you're gonna get a little bit of whiplash, but other than that, these back seats are pretty nice actually. Lots of room. I wouldn't mind hanging out back here for a long drive. And, oh, I almost forgot, in the back seats, you also get an ashtray in each door, so all 4 passengers can do their smoking. All right, now you obviously have a rear hatch in the back, so if you twist to the right and open it, you get a nice wide opening rear hatch. And, well, I guess in the back here, I have some manual locking front hubs because the automatic lockers on this one have since quit working after over 30 years of being on the road. Pretty common on these, but it's an easy upgrade to do the manual locking hubs. Now, the other thing I like about the back is if you didn't want to open that entire rear hatch, you can just open the glass itself by twisting to the left. Pops right open, and, well, my strut is not working anymore. But you do have an easy way to just throw some quick items into the back without having to open that entire rear hatch. Now, these things do have some serious off-road abilities. To start, this is a body-on-frame vehicle. It has got a true 4x4 low with automatic locking hubs in the front, which, mine aren't working, but you can easily convert these to manual locking hubs. Now, this has Ford's twin traction independent front suspension, and although that may not necessarily be as beneficial off-road as a solid front axle like the Cherokee XJs have, these do have a lot more benefits on-road. Now, it is worth mentioning that this one is the manual transmission, and that really is the one to get because the automatics on these, well, they're not great. It's a 4-speed auto, and they're not known for their reliability compared to the manual transmissions on these. Although I'm sure you can find some out there that have been maintained properly and are running great. Generally, if you don't maintain them, they fail. They're not a great transmission. But if you are able to find one with the manual transmission, that is the key. Now, the gauge layout of this thing is super simple. You just have your battery, you got your coolant, you got your oil, your gas, your speedometer, and your tachometer. You really don't need much more than that. And the rest of the dash is just equally as simple. I mean, look at this. You got your 4x4 if you want to go into 4-wheel drive, and then you got your low range if you're really stuck or going over some rugged terrain and want to switch that locker on. The values on these things are still super, super low because no one knows about them yet. So now's the time to buy one of these. In fact, you can get one just like the one that I have here for, I don't know, $3,000, maybe $4,000. Maybe if you wanted to get a really, really nice one, you'd spend like $5,000 to $6,000. Compare that to like the Cherokee XJ. Great vehicle, super reliable, boxy styling, can get it with a manual transmission, but those nowadays, the price of entry, you're looking at $9,000, $10,000, and in some cases upwards of $15,000 to $20,000 for really nice ones. So this is the bargain to have because it can go many, many places that Cherokee can, has the same boxy styling, or at least the same era of boxy styling, and just gives you that classic old school driving experience. So I don't know, tell me what you guys think in those comment sections below. And if you have a cool vehicle that you want to sell, check us out at TFLbids.com, where we can get your vehicle listed and sold faster than any other automotive auction site. Thanks, guys.